I'm excited to teach you guys about large language models, how we can customize them for our use cases, how we can ensure we're providing them securely, how really we can just understand this technology and use it better, especially since I'm a really big believer that if the large language model isn't our iPhone moment, it might be like our automobile moment. I think that one's a little scarier. I'd prefer the iPhone moment because a lot of people got jobs out of that, right? Whereas with the horse and buggy, there weren't too many of those guys around after a couple of years of the automobile taking over. So just a little bit about myself before we get started. My name is Bryce Zuccaro. I have over a decade of experience now working in IT, in particular doing offensive cybersecurity, so penetration testing, red teaming, breaking into banks, breaking into businesses that have compliance needs. This includes physical, this includes cloud, this includes network. I have done a little bit of web, although that's not my forte. I used to be a pretty avid CTF player. The height of that career would have been placing in Netwars Tournaments of Champions. If you get 5th place or above, at least in the individuals bracket, you do in fact get to shake a general's hand. I unfortunately do not remember that gentleman's name, but he definitely was much more fit than I was and currently am. During COVID, my COVID hobby was taking SANS certifications. I currently hold over 16 of them, which is an obscene amount of certifications for anyone to hold, but I wanted to become a SANS instructor, which I did successfully do, although that ended a little bit in tragedy. A story for another time, though. And then hopefully, I'm the fastest skier in this room. If anybody can show me proof that they've gone faster than 54.9 miles per hour, I'd be happy to update this slide, but you got to show me actual proof. Pull out your phone, give me an image, and I'll have this say second fastest, third fastest, what have you. I'm really excited to get to talk to you today and tomorrow about large language models, fine tuning, and all of these other cool topics that we're going to get to. The browser version is much nicer. So let's re-go through all of those steps that we discussed, right? The very first part of this whole process, as mentioned, was tokenization. This is a real copy of GPT-2. So we can actually put in, let me get out of here for a second, the quick brown fox, hit enter. And now we will get, instead of my beautiful fake table, we get the real token IDs. The is ID 464. Quick is 2068, et cetera, et cetera. And as mentioned, we will create an embedding table using its position. So this is a rough mathematical representation of that vectorization, creating those pairs so that we can understand where all the words are in relation to each other before we start doing our transformation process. Then, once we get through vectorization and doing our embeddings, we can go to multi-headed attention. Quite literally, we derive a key and a query to get a value for each of our input words. Remember, attention is simultaneous. It's everything. And the way Transformer Explainer tries to show this is these dots. They have different actual real values and they have different colors, right? Also, once again, remember, we have 12 of these. So as we go through, we can see that the colors are changing based on whichever attention head we're in, right? Roughly, you can expect any given agent to handle about 200 instructions, right? Think of an instruction as something very simple like don't use M dashes, or make sure you do a commit after every code change, or I need you to do 20 code changes would be 20 code instructions, right? We get about 200 of those before the model starts to degrade with modern models. This is, I guess, about a year ago now, but it still roughly holds. So the way I like to think of this, if we're trying to manage this context rot problem, is I will call context gold, I will call it mediocre, and I'm not going to curse on this recording, so we're just going to say don't. Your first 32,000 tokens worth of context are going to be very, very good. The model will adhere to those instructions. That's about our 200 right there. Once we start getting past that, things start getting worse and worse and worse. And this isn't necessarily a catastrophic degradation, right? But it is a case where maybe you tell the model to do something, and after you've told it, 220 things to do, it kind of just fails to do one of the previous instructions. We can call this up to 128. And if you're going past 256, you should probably expect the model to fail. pretty badly. On this graph that I happen to have on the screen, you can see the failure rates for a number of models. In particular, Llama 4 Scout, which was just not a very good model in the first place, has a very precipitous drop, right? I mean, after we get to 100 instructions, you can expect it to be accurate to what you asked it 20% of the time. That's absolutely terrible. Next, this is probably a little more relevant to this crowd. We could use Apple's MLX framework. So William, this is your moment. MLX is, as I mentioned already, Apple has Metal, which is their kind of translation layer to talk to their hardware. MLX is built on top of Metal so that you can use your Apple hardware to run models more quickly. But I personally use LM Studio. The reason why I like this project is very similarly to OpenWebUI. It's going to give us everything that we care about. In particular, we get a nice chat window. We get a nice model selector. I'm not going to select a model to load because I don't want to crash Zoom, which is a genuine concern I have. It has a nice model downloader. So I can download any model I want. For example, I could go Qwen 3.6. Put that in the survey. Let's talk about agents. Oh boy, there's so much fun. Spoiler alert, there's no such thing as an agent. You see, in the beginning, Jensen Huang came down from what I can only imagine is outer space. And he provided us the NVIDIA GPU. And the AI model makers came to him and said, we can use that hardware to create text. And lo, the large language model was born. But it was useless. What could we do with it but make bad banana bread recipes and stupid jokes? Really, all an agent is at the end of the day is just context, because large language models only understand context. Tokens, KV caches, all these fancy things. At the end of the day, it's all the same to the model. It's context and maybe, just maybe, a while loop. But through the darkness, one day, the models invented what they call tools. We only talk about ways to customize large language models. We are going to shift gears a little bit. Day one, a lot of that was about kind of the foundational knowledge we would need to provide models, the ways we could interact with models, the way we could transform the outcomes of those interactions. Day two is much more about how can we either a little bit of how we can build the system around the model, but it's also very heavily around how we can get to the point of fine-tuning a model. And I think fine-tuning is simultaneously like way overkill, but it's also really needed because unfortunately when we're dealing with models, as we've seen just through day one, like it's really tough to get a model to explicitly do the thing that we want. So what we really have to do is we just have to abuse the math. And like a great example of this is back when Paul was asking me about mobile apps and I was recommending to him to use Cursor. Literally, like the day he asked me, they came out with Cursor Composer 2. And they had some very big benchmark numbers that they showed off and people were testing it on Twitter. And it felt like a really great, smart model. They would have gotten away with it if in the actual Cursor application, they had not leaked that Cursor Composer 2 was really an open weights model called Kimi K25 in the API call. Operational security is really, really tough. Something I would recommend if you're ever going to make a multi-billion-dollar business off of open source software, maybe hire at least one engineer to do a security review on your product before you make a big release about it. This tweet that you see on the screen came out, I'd say like 5 or so days into this drama where Composer 2 said we've created the Cursor said we've created this new model. All of a sudden, everybody realizes it's Kimi K25. I think there was genuinely some scrambling behind the scenes where the Cursor team needed to figure out a way to save face because they, depending on how you want to slice it, either did or did not break the Kimi K2 license. If you're interested in the different ways your models can be broken, I would instead recommend this beautiful, highly complicated image from CrowdStrike and Pangea that is this is another taxonomy. We've seen a few taxonomies as we've gone through this course. This is one that is particular to prompt injections, both direct and indirect. Prompt injections in particular are what we are going to focus on.